So what's the problem with comprehensible input? Let's find out. Just got a comment here, Edwin, that says your method for learning a new language from scratch is new to me. Is one of your video in one of your videos, you mentioned that comprehensible input doesn't work to acquire a new language like a native because one needs a lot of vocabulary to be able to express oneself fluently. And the way to learn new vocabulary is very slow using comprehensible input. I didn't say that it doesn't work at all. Obviously, if you spend 30,000 hours listening to native speakers, you will end up understanding everything and speaking pretty well eventually, if you also speak, right? Um, it's not it doesn't work, it's that it doesn't work fast enough. Most of us are busy. Most of us have things going on in our lives. We've got plans, we've got work, we've got things we need to learn. And if you want to learn a new skill, learning it in a few hundred hours is much more valuable than learning it in thousands of hours because, first of all, that's extra time that you can use for something else. Second of all, if you get the results much later in life, those are years of your life that you don't get to enjoy the results uh, and the opportunities you'd get from speaking that language at that very moment, right? If in your next trip to Mexico you speak Spanish well, like really well, obviously you'll do better and you'll have more fun, you'll meet more people, etc. Although Edwin Flores, I don't think he needs to learn Spanish. Um, but yeah, if you're watching and you're American, yeah, learning Spanish in 3 months is more valuable than learning it in 3,000 hours of comprehensible input, and eventually in 2030 you'll be able to speak. No, learning it fast is better because you get to enjoy it longer. It's that, but okay. What's the that's the results aspect of it. Yeah, why is it better to learn faster? But then there's the like why is it faster? Why is it slower? Why is comprehensible input slow? Um, it's not slow at first. For the first thousand ish, 500, the first 500 words, the most common ones, the most common 1,000 words, you learn them pretty fast with comprehensible input. The problem is after that, because of the Pareto principle, after that, your rate of learning new words drops drastically because the first few hundred, especially a few hundred, but the first 1,000 words more or less are super common. So you keep seeing them over and over again. So you listen to the language and you'll be hearing those words again and again and again. So you learn them easily with just by listening or by reading. The problem is after that, the more words you want to learn, like for each word that you learn, uh, after the most common ones, the frequency drops drastically. So you need to do a lot more input per word. Yeah. So once your vocabulary is pretty good, to keep adding words to your vocabulary, you need to do more and more and more input. So with a few hours of input, you learn 100 words maybe. Like if you do 30 hours of input or something like that. But once you know 2,000 words, to learn an extra 100 words, you won't need 30 hours of input, you'll need hundreds of hours of input. And once you know 5,000 words, to learn an extra 100 words, you need thousands of extra hours of input because each word from those, like after 1,000, the words from 0 to 1,000 will be super common. From 1,000 to 2,000, they'll be relatively common, much less common from 2,000 to 3,000 and so on. So by the time you're learning words from number 5,000 to number 6,000, you need way more time, way more hours spent listening or reading or both. That's the problem, yeah? Because frequency drops a lot and you need to see every word in context. Depends on the person and how good you are at remembering things, but you need to see every word in context 10, 12 times, sometimes more. So the amount of input keeps increasing the more words you learn. The amount of input you need to learn to do per word learned. So it's extremely inefficient after a while. It's good for reviewing, yeah, but it's not good for memorizing, for learning. The learning is better done with lists. Yeah, take the 10,000 most common words. This is, you could call it input as well, but you have the 10,000 most common words, each one with an example sentence. I guess you could still call it input, right? Although it's not the kind of input that these people make, but do. But 10,000 sentences, that's probably way more than 10,000 words, because you get the 10,000 words with each one with their example sentence, but then the example sentence contains a lot more words, so you probably have at least 15,000 total unique words there. But anyway, 10,000 words with 10,000 sentences, that's a few hours of input to do it once. But if you do the whole thing 10 times, probably remember all of them. And especially if you've done memorization of vocabulary before, the first time you memorize all the vocab with associations, then you need to review the list maybe 2 or 3 times and you'll remember it. And you can do this, you can learn 10,000 words this way in a fraction of the time that you need, a very small fraction of the time that you need to learn 10,000 words with just exposure to the language. Yeah, you read book after book, you watch 3,000 hours of dreaming Spanish or whatever, you still don't know 10,000 words. If you don't need to, if you want to or need to learn 10,000 words, which is fluent in my opinion, as fast as possible, you need to memorize. You need to memorize, and you need to focus on on a list of words and over again learn them. Otherwise, it's going to be super slow. Really, really, really slow. It'll take years. And you can do it that way if you want to, but why do it? You're wasting time, and you, well, delaying results unnecessarily. You could be enjoying the results in a couple months instead of in a few years.